احب ادعو البانلست للسيشن اللي جايه. دكتور محمود حنفي Professor of Marine Ecology, Swiss Canal University, Red Sea Governors Scientific Advisor and HEPCAS Scientific Advisor. احب برضو ادعو مستر ايمن طاهر Ecotourism Expert. طلع خلاص اوكي. مس سينا حبوس Blue Economy Expert and Consultant of SDERI. دكتور علاء سرحان Professor of Environmental Economics عين شمس University. والسيشن دي will be moderated by Mr. Luke Reuter.
Thank you very much. I tried to use the step they brought in for Sina, but I think I broke it, so it's not for. So, dear panelists, it's a great pleasure to not hear myself twice with the phone. No, it's okay. We can do it. I will stay here if that's too. It's okay. I would suggest that we do the panel the way you want it. I think the easiest is probably we stay seated, you stay seated, and we give around the mic, not coming up. So the session is, as you know, about the roadmap in which you have all been involved, and to see what is the importance, but also what are the challenges. We are here in a group of people who, you know most of them know you, so we will, during the whole day, we will try to have the most open, frank, direct conversation. You are very lucky to have in your panel Sina, who has been the coordinator, the expert. She knows the SwitchMeta project very well. She also knows institutions like the UN, like the European Union. She has been involved. I mean, the three of you are the references on blue economy, so we have the different approaches also, and the different chapters or the different sectors of blue economy. So shall we start with the opportunities or with the challenges, or let's start very briefly, the four of you, to give us a definition on, for you, what is blue economy? I know there's an official definition but it is something, because it was mentioned also, Sylvie mentioned the Nile again. In some countries, we have a similar meeting like this one in 2 weeks in Aqaba. Jordan has decided that for them, blue economy is only the Red Sea. Not the Dead Sea, not the canal, not the river, and not this new project that they are building or not building. So, what is your definition? And for once, Sina, you allow me that we will not start with
last.
you, because you will
Yes.
be the. So we give it to Professor. You all have mics, so I switch mine off.
Yeah.
And you can free of course to speak in Arabic. I have my.
I think the majority are Egyptian, so and you have translation, no problem.
Yes.
But for me, I think blue economy أعتقد إن هو يعني في two principles بيحددوا ما هو البلو economy. Integration between different sectors of development or uses, as well as المهم جدا هي فكرة sustainability. أعتقد دول الحاجتين الأساسيين اللي بيحددوا فكرة البلو economy أو two pillars. أنا مش عايز أخوض في الوضع بتاع ونسيب وضع البحر الأحمر، لو أنا شخصيا بشتغل في البحر الأحمر. معظم كاريري على البحر الأحمر in term of research و education. بقالي حوالي 40 سنة بشتغل في البحر الأحمر، وده أعتقد ده حياتي كلها. فأعتقد إن أنا فكرة البلو ايكونومي، وده أول مرة في البحر الأحمر ان في نوع من الابروتش لفكره البلو ايكونومي في البحر الاحمر، لانه فعلا في سكسس ستوريز كتير جدا، في برضه بعض تو ريتش للسستينبل واي او احقق السستينابيلتي في فكره اليوزز بتاع البايودايفرستي بالذات في البحر الاحمر. اعتقد ان في ايفورت دلوقتي كبير جدا عشان نوصل لمرحله السستينابيلتي. So as a definition ان البلو ايكونومي هو فكره انتجريشن و to reduce الكونفليكت الكبير جدا اللي قد يكون على البايودايفرستي اللي هي very very valuable. يعني لو عايز لو في ان انا هتكلم على البحر الاحمر واديتوني الفرصه، ده يعني ده ليسون ليرن ليه او دروس مستفاده. اول حاجه حصلت في البحر الاحمر ان الفاليو بتاع البايودايفرستي ارتفع جدا من الناحيه الايكونومي، وده اللي عمل الدور ده التوريزم اكشوالي. فكره ارتفاع قيمه البايودايفرستي في البحر الاحمر، وممكن ادي بعض الاكزامبلز عليها، ده دفعت ناحيه ما يعرف ان احنا نعمل نوع من الديفلوبمنت، بس في الاول كانت بيزد على كوانتيتي rather than quality. يعني لم نضع مثلا في يعني في الخطه او الناشونال بلان اننا نحط فكره الكارين كاباسيتي بتاع الانفايرمنت. فانتهينا بفيري انتنسيف ديفلوبمنت في بعض الاريا زي الغردقه مثلا. فده ادى في الاخر لاوفر يوز للبايودايفرستي. فعلشان نرجع لفكره السستينابيلتي واب تو سستيند اليوز دي بتاع البايودايفرستي بتاخد شويه وقت، وفي بعض الاكشن اللي بتتعمل من خلال وزاره البيئه او محافظه البحر الاحمر وحتى السيفل سوسايتي، ان احنا ازاي كمثال مثلا الفيشرز، ده احد المشاكل الاساسيه، ده اوفر يوز ككونسامشن يوز للبايودايفرستي. وده الكونفليكت الرئيسي اللي قائم على فكره السستينابيلتي، هي اوفر يوز وكونفليكت بين اليوزز. يعني في كونسامشن يوز اوف بايودايفرستي ده ممثله في الفيشرز، ونان كونسامشن يوز ممثله في التوريزم. فيشرز طبعا ريد سي، عشان برضو بعض البرنسبلز الاساسيه اللي لازم نحطها انتو كونسيدريشن للريد سي. فيرست اوف اول ان الريد سي، ان البايودايفرستي ان تيرم اوف كوانتيتي ان تيرم اوف بايوماس فيري بور سي. انا بمثله حتى للطلبه بتوعي في القسم ان البحر الاحمر ده عباره عن الصحراء الغربيه، ولكن في واحه صغيره جدا هي اللي قايمه بكل، هي اللي سبورت للمارين لايف، وهو الكورال ريف وشويه منجروف لا يتعدوا 550 هكتار، وبعض السي جراسز اللي هي ريستريكتد للشالوري. باقي البحر ده اوليجوتروفيك كونديشن بور سي in term of productivity عشان ينتج بايوماس very limited. So it's not a fishing ground from the scientific point of view. التشالنجز الرئيسيه اللي بتواجه مصر ازاي ان انا احافظ على الواحه دي، لان كل الانشطه قائمه على الواحه الصغيره. ازاي ان انا احافظ على الانشطه دي انها تكون يعني مور سستين. لما بدانا البايودايفرستي عليت وبدانا في فكره الانتنسيف ديفلوبمنت في بعض الاريا زي الغردقه، زي ما بقول معدل الغوص في بعض المواقع تخطى ال 200,000 غوصه للموقع واحد للسنه. هذا لما حصلت هذه العمليه، القصه السستينبل دايفنج او الكارين كاباسيتي بتعريف فور دايفنج حوالي 22,000. ده اللي قسناه في البحر الاحمر او ده اللي قدرناه. ده فكره اوفر يوز حتى من التوريزم اللي هو كنا بنعتبره نان كونسامشن يوز وسستينبل اكتيفيتيز. ففكره ان احنا نوصل للبلو ايكونومي بشكله بمفهومه لازم نوصل. لذلك وزاره البيئه بتتبنى فكره اعداد مواقع غوص جديده مع السيفل سوسايتي اللي هي هيبكا مع البحر الاحمر علشان نقلل البوتنشال بتاع الدايف، وهكذا. نفس الوضع، في خطوات كبيره جدا بتؤخذ دلوقتي عشان نوصل لفكره السستينبل فيشرز في البحر الاحمر. انا مش عايز ان انا يعني اتكلم كل حاجه على البحر الاحمر، لكن هنسيب يعني ده للدسكشن لاي حد لانه بس اخر حاجه اللي احنا واحنا بنخطط للبحر الاحمر او بنتكلم على البلو ايكونومي بتاع البحر الاحمر، انا بشتغل في فكره الكلايمت تشينج والامباكت بتاعها على الكورال ريف ل 20 سنه. وانا بقول وده يعني رايي العلمي، في اكتر من 50 scientific publication وارتكلز على الكورال ريف بتاع البحر الاحمر ان هو قد يكون at least one of the last coral refuge worldwide. وده فكرتها ان بقت فكره التاسك او الريسبونسبيلتي للكونزرفيشن بتاع الريف ده بقت مشكله جلوبال، لانه لازم نحافظ على الريف ده. قد يكون هوب سبوت في المستقبل، انه معظم العلماء بيتوقعوا ان الكورال سينتهي في العالم كله في الديكيد ده، في السنشري او في القرن ده، فبالتالي ده قد يكون هوب سبوت للي جاي. ولذلك فكره لازم يتحط برضه في فكره الكلايمت تشينج، ان لو ده one of the last coral refuge worldwide. حتى لما بنيجي نتكلم انا يعني ده وجهه نظر شخصيه كبلو ايكونومي، البايودايفرسيتي بتاع البحر الاحمر مش سبورت للناشونال ايكونومي بقى فقط، لا ده سبورت للاوروبيان كوميونتي، للاوروبيان ايكونومي، لانه كل البايودايفرسيتي بيز توريزم اللي بتيجي من يوروب البحر الاحمر سبورت لهذا. فبالتالي فكره الكونزرفيشن والسستينبل يوز لازم انها تكون يعني كروس باوندري الريسورسز دي. مش هزيد يعني على ونترك هذا المناقشه لو في اي استفسار. شكرا. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. And I mean, we can see if we have an expert who speaks with passion, but also who has all this scientific knowledge. I mean, thank you very much. You touched upon some of the big, as you said, challenges. And I think the idea of this roadmap and the work we are doing here is to change these challenges into opportunities. And before we come to the finance expert, because at the end, if we want to talk about change, about development, we need to talk also about finances. So I don't know if both of you had talked before, had arranged your speech, because when we now go to Mr. Ayman, he will talk a lot also about the coral reefs, natural ones, artificial ones, and it's very interesting to also have somebody who is in a way below or in the blue economy physically. And actually, you will be very pleased to hear that my first visit in Egypt was, I'm not saying when because it will make us a little bit, it was 30 years ago. I backpacked from Damascus all the way down to Dahab to see the blue hole. And so you see, I don't know in which situation it is now. I know a lot of places have changed since then. But so in Europe, and as you know it, and you mentioned it also, diving means Egypt for a lot of people. And what is interesting, I know what you are going to talk about, is to really make the point that the diving community is not only the divers. I have my colleague on SwitchMed, my colleague who works with me in Paris. She's originally from China, and they came on holiday to the Red Sea to go diving. Her husband flew in from the US to come here on diving. So it's something that really is extremely important, and it's of course for Blue Economy, it's one of the sectors, and it's very silly, but I have to say it. Let's dive into the Blue Economy now with you.
Thank you for the approach. I will start with an old saying: what you cannot count, you cannot manage. So what do we have really besides the coral reefs and the ecosystems in the Red Sea? Is in the Egyptian Red Sea we have about 80 shipwrecks. The most famous one of them is called the Thistlegorm. This is sank. It was a British naval ship that sank down in 6 October 1945, Second World War. This shipwreck is attracting, we had a study 2 years ago, it generated something like 5 million euros income just from the visits by the liveaboards and the number of the payment that has been paid for the liveaboards. Comparing this number to the visitors who visited the pyramids in Giza or Karnak Temple, the Thistlegorm attracted much more visitors than the pyramids and the Karnak Temple. The situation of this shipwreck, it's deteriorating due to the lack of mooring system or mooring installations. And if we're talking about mooring installations, I'm very proud and that one of the founders of HEPCA, who started in 1990, and our mandate was safeguarding the coral reefs and the diving sites. The mooring system that started in the 90s and all the way was designed for a certain kind size of boats. The boats all days was maximum 18 meters, 20 meters. The diving boats these days, or the liveaboards that roam up and south and north and the Red Sea, became 40 meters long, 50 meters long, steel, very heavy. So I would recommend, or I would say that HEPCA started in the 90s safeguarding coral reefs by this mooring system. This was a kind of blue economy because we did not have funding agents on that time. It was the diving centers, the diving community paid every month there was $100 payment as a contribution for the use of these mooring buoys. And we had a white list, a gray list, and a black list. That was who did not pay his due amount would not use the mooring line. So my request is that we invest in these mooring installations with the necessary capacity and for the size of the boats that exist these days. This is my very first project that I will give it to Sina to include it in the roadmap. And the second project I would like, because it's, as we're talking about blue economy, we're talking about marine life, we're talking about livelihoods, we're talking about a very well preserved ecosystem. So I think it's about time that we start involving citizen science in all diving sites and all areas in the Red Sea. The Red Sea is huge. It's massive. We have 200 and how many diving centers we have? So we have 250 diving centers along a coastline which is 1,000 kilometers. And we don't know till now how many really diving sites we have, what situation. The job just for an NGO or something like Dr. Mahmoud is doing, I think we need to exceed the number of marine scientists and marine biology and environmental companies that go and make a real assessment for what's there and what situation and the follow-up of it. And so I believe we should include marine biologists in every second, third diving center that can teach the locals, teach the operators, and come up with the scientific results for for the future, I mean. The third project I would like is that we have an atlas, a real atlas for where is the shipwrecks, where is the nursery grounds, where are the dolphins, where are the turtles, where are the nesting grounds, where is everything? Because till today we don't have something that can tell us exactly where it is, and it can be used by the modern technology and social media, and so an integrated multimedia atlas for the Red Sea and the Mediterranean.
Well, thank you very much. And your three examples, I saw people were agreeing with them. I think they are extremely to the point and very useful. There are 3 points that I, when you were talking, came up. The first one, you mentioned blue economy. You didn't know if this was blue economy. That's something it's very important. Everything we are talking about here existed before the term blue economy came. Circular economy existed, sustainable consumption and production existed before somebody put the name on. Yesterday I was in the Museum of Islamic Culture. You can see things there that we would consider now recycling or upcycling. So blue economy existed. There are lots of projects, initiatives in Egypt on blue economy that are not labeled blue economy. So that's something. The second, which is a question I would have that maybe respond a bit later, is when you talk about the diving centers or the diving community, how much of this community is local or national? How much is international? Because you could, and it might be a challenge, I would fully understand if a country would say, not Egypt, if my home country, Luxembourg, would say, if we have 5 million to invest, maybe we will invest it in something that benefits not only tourists, but I might be wrong. It's just, and the last point is, both of you have talked blue economy mostly on the Red Sea. Is that a coincidence, or is for Egypt blue economy or the blue economy concept, or maybe the institutions or the organizations, that it's mostly focusing, and then the Red Sea, at least what we see from Europe, will in the coming years go through some changes on what's being developed on the right side, the left, right, not no judgment. What everything that Saudi Arabia is proposing. I know, for example, in Aqaba, we work under SwitchMed, so with Aziza on blue economy, but also in Wadi Rum. They are getting a little bit nervous because what will be built not too far away from Aqaba will change also. So will that have, especially on diving centers, an impact or not at all? You can respond now briefly, or we go over to our expert on, because everything we have been talking about, at the end it comes to the same point. I mean, the 3 projects are great, and then we will all look into the same direction, and who and how are we going to fund this? So, and I think when we talk about green economy, blue economy, circular economy, and one of also the roles that UNEP has, and in 2 weeks we'll start the 6th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly in Nairobi, where UNEP's headquarters are, is about nature or the environment. How can we, what's the price of it? And we can say, what's the price of health? What's the price of happiness? So, yes, protecting the Red Sea, the coral reefs. What's the price of it? And still a lot, the people see only the costs. How much would it cost to protect? But what is coming in? What's the attraction of it? And that's something. I think 2 days ago, we were here on a similar roundtable on plastic. And we all agree, if somebody comes up with something that allows us to have the same, I mean, it's plastic. If it's made out of something else and it's still functioning, we might all be able to replace it, but we need to do it. And so the same for all the blue economy. How are we going to finance it?
Thank you very much. First of all, I don't know, after what has been said from the previous speakers, that I'm able to contribute much to this, because this has been great wealth to my knowledge and contribution to what we're trying to say here today. Actually, I would respectfully disagree with you. It's not, we're not looking at the price, we're looking at the value. Because price, we're assuming that there's a market, which there is no market for corals. There is no market for the ecological benefits that are being offered by the blue economy. By the way, the blue, you're absolutely right. We love every now and then to come up with new labels and new terminology and acronyms and all this. It's always been there. It's always been there. You want to argue about sustainability? Ancient Egyptians, they practiced sustainability thousands of years ago. But now we just have to say it started from this date or from that date or this document. But it's always been practiced one way or the other. Otherwise, if there was no sustainability practiced thousands of years, we wouldn't be existing today. But anyway, that's a different story. So I think what we're looking at is natural capital, the capital itself. We start to talk about economics. What is the value of the so-called the blue economy? Okay, we talk about economic activities in oceans, seas, coastal areas, lakes. I mean, I tend to think that we need to widen the scope. But then you zoom in on the Red Sea, if you will. But the idea is green economy, blue economy, doesn't really matter as long as your sustainable use, sustainable practices. You want to keep the all these assets, environmental assets, in a very healthy state, maintain them, and ensure that we're going to hand this over to our kids and grandkids, hopefully, inshallah, in a better way. I would like to think on a more positive note. But anyway, one of the important things about calculating the capital of the blue economy is to look at also the environmental degradation, because you need to subtract from it the degradation. You need to deduct from it any kind of degradation. I made a small exercise. It should be, if may I pull it up on يا حد يا دكتور حسام لو ممكن بعد إذنه. Anyway, I'll talk while we get there. The idea is, so if you cannot, Mr. Ayman Tahir, I think what he said was, if you cannot measure, you cannot manage, which is absolutely true. We need to measure how much the economy is, the assets and the natural capital, and then take away from it the environmental degradation, and then figure out, so how do we finance projects that would be able to restore these assets back into the original state, if possible. Hopefully it's not irreversible. It's reversible. The point is, I think we need to think in a bit of a more innovative way. I think we need to think in a more of outside the box, as they say. The blue economy is something that is very important for the livelihoods of the people, very important for job creation, and very important for the health of this planet. Because if we are able to maintain our seas, معلش لو حضرتك بس تنزل على الجدول اللي تحت بعد إذنك. أيوة أشكرك. Okay, so I looked at 3 different areas. This is for the Red Sea: fisheries, corals, and the ballast water. And unfortunately, data is extremely challenging. But you work with what you have. Okay, so I was able to estimate the. If I can switch my phone off, I'd be much happier. Okay, thank you. So we looked at the loss of the catch, of the fish catch, annually, and we did a very, I did a very rough estimate of the loss in fish catch, and of course we make the assumption that the fish catch is correlated to طبعا هنا حضرتك تقدر تفيدنا اكتر. I'm just the economist here. This is correlated to the health of the sea itself. And then we looked at the coral reefs, and we got some of the loss of the coral areas based on WEWA figures. And again, this was very challenging because I've reached out to a number of friends, marine scientists, to try to get the latest. Unfortunately, I was not successful enough, but I had to rely on some. So we got the WEWA figures, which were not very updated, to my knowledge. Also did the ballast water. So the end result is we did, this is a technique called economic cost of environmental degradation. And what we did was we reached the mean value of about $3.9 billion in damages with the 2020 estimates. And this represented 1.1% loss in GDP. Or actually, it's not lost, 1.1% of the GDP of Egypt 2020 prices. So this is a small exercise. Now, moving on, so what do we do about it? Okay, so now we know what the problem is. I mean, hopefully. So how do we finance that? We need finance. We need money. There are conventional ways. Yeah, we have diving centers. We have people coming in. You levy a charge. You put a fee. You put a tax. Fair enough. But also, one of my proposals is, since this is global wealth, we're talking about global wealth. We're not talking about Egyptian. I think it would be very important that we think about how can we swap part of Egypt's debts to be able to fund activities for the blue economy. This is not something which is a novelty. We have done it before in the 90s and the 2000s with 4 European countries, Switzerland, Spain, Italy, and Germany, and we were able to fund some projects. So I would invite all of you to think about whether this is going to be a viable proposal to work with our development partners, so that we are able. I'm not saying that we're going to ask for 100% debt relief. No, we're talking about a very small portion of the debt that we're able to turn this, to swap for actual projects, blue economy on the ground, that are going to be turned into Egyptian currency, creating jobs, making people work for this. So it's just an idea that I would like to float, so that we are able, maybe if we have the chance to discuss, I'd be more than happy to discuss it more, because I'm currently working on this. Not currently, I've been working on this for 2 years, and I've been asked by certain authorities that maybe this is something that the way forward for not just the blue economy, maybe the green economy, and maybe other colors as well. Who knows? But anyway, so I just wanted to float this, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. This is really important. And next time when the Minister of Budget calls, you pick up. Maybe it's him with. And also, I mean, as I said, there are signs. The way this panel is organized was purely coincidence. But Sina, who was not only that you have known working on this blue economy work, she has also worked a lot on sustainable finance. And so what you all said, I would now jump directly to Sina. How are we going to find? And we call it the Egyptian economy. Because, as you said, blue economy, green economy, in the US they have something called pink economy. It's for the people who have retired. Circular economy, sustainable consumption and production, sustainable development goals. We had the Millennium Goals. We have sustainable development. I mean, we had it all. And the problems are still there. So I think the name, the label, is not necessary. And we discussed about the labeling, which is something that also often comes up.
Let's call it the multicolor of economy.
Yeah, and so labeling is also something. Do we want to get a label or a certificate, or do we really want to make change? So, Sina, over to you.
Thank you. I think financial diversification is key here. I think I totally applaud your model. I think it's very important. And now it is being talked about within the carbon economy dialogue all over the world, the idea of debt swatting. And I think it's very important. Another would be blue bonds, green bonds, funds, available funds internationally, specifically focusing on climate can also be utilized. So basically it depends on the nature of the project you need to finance. Some projects can be also, if it has appropriate feasibility studies, can be attractive to the private sector. And I think this is what's important, is to come up with solutions that will attract private investors. If we are looking for sustainability on the long term, how to capitalize or how to transform a blue economy based solution into business oriented thinking and context. That's how we can ensure its continuation on the long term. For example, there are some examples, not basically on blue economy, but also on green economy, where the government, to entice or to attract investors, went in for public-private partnerships, especially for projects that are nature-based. And here I think blue economy for now, for the stage that it is in Egypt, it is not yet completely attractive for the private sector completely. So there will be a need for a contribution by the government through subsidies, through tax holidays, to encourage private sector. Usually there is a cooperative fund that is created by the government and the private sector, whether investment groups, investment banks, that constitute a partnership to invest in nature-based, or here in our case, blue economy-based infrastructure. So there is a number of models, but the idea how to, first of all, make it attractive for businesses, and this is, again, why we were focusing on the idea of creating what? A project catalog, is how to create the projects that are viable with a potential investment opportunity that can play two goals. We can target international organization and potential funds, and there is plenty of funds available internationally, whether through multi-development banks, whether under the current global agreements, or through international and regional foundations. But then again, there also now a trend in ESG investment, purely business investment, ESG investments. So if we're successful in focusing and highlighting, and I think the potential for ecotourism is there, because ecotourism is profitable. This is a clear case where there is a profit. If we can focus on the profitability dimension when it comes to ecotourism, especially within the blue economy sector, there is room for enticing the private sector, especially ESG investors that are globals, and now they are growing regionally in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf. There is an exceedingly huge number of ESG investors over there. And they will be very interested in supporting these programs. So we need to change the thinking of the custodian institutions that will work and support such programs. This is an example. There is a number of channels that can be tackled, and of course, I also recommend that all the channels to encourage investment should also be taken into consideration. So thank you. Please, if you have anything.
I think we have found finance minister of our
No.
blue
Please, no.
economy roadmap. It's, you really, I saw people looking up. I mean, you brought hope because we were talking about the challenges. We have 25 minutes left.
Yeah.
Before we go for a second round, let me just ask if there are 2 or 3 very short questions or comments in the room, but only give an idea, something that our distinguished panelists will then be able to respond. Because we don't want to, just if you have something, say, what about this, what about this? I will throw in, and that's the right being the moderator, I can keep the mic or give it. I would say awareness raising, and also for children, grandchildren, because what we are talking, I mean, it's scientific, it's economical, it's how can we talk to the normal people, the people who do not, and how can we get them involved, because they also have, they are the ones who often live directly from this. So that's what my point. There's one question over there too. It's the disadvantage to be moderator. You have to do everything yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the panelists for their contributions. Actually, I would like to just to clarify for the definition for the blue economy. This is a sustainable management of the water resources. So here in Egypt, all the water resources, we mean all what we have. So by the end of 2021, His Excellency, the Prime Minister has issued a decision to form a committee from 3 main sectors headed by Suez Canal Authority. The Ministry of Petroleum, the Ministry of Environment, and the Ministry of Transportation. This is the main sectors already. In order to develop a strategy, we have to have an entity in order to translate all the activities we have in this regard. So we already have a lot of efforts in different sectors. Just how can we put a strategy to lead, how to develop these projects, how to finance. According to or under the umbrella of this strategy, we can put the pathways for the different issues of blue economy. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very important. And for the last point of finance, I would say we have seen her. She said there's lots of money, lots of opportunities available. So we go to, but the structure, no, it's extremely important. And I saw also the panelists, they all will respond to this. Sylvie?
Thanks a lot. Yes, we speak about the finance from the private sector, but I think we have to keep in mind the private sector should be not only the private industry, but Mr. Everybody. I think there is a lot of people who like diving or who like nature will be ready to put maybe 1 penny or 2 penny, but to put a bit of money to support it, instead to put it in other type of things. And the problem, there is no good way to do it. In Europe, the banks start to put some sustainable indicator, but practically, we have no idea where this money is going. So you can know that it's going in something sustainable, but nothing more. If you know that you are protecting the biodiversity in the sea or something else, I mean, everybody wants to put this money in something. I think there is a lot of potential which is not used enough.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvie. And you mentioned directly SCP again. It's also about how we consume and produce, how we consume our leisure, how we consume our holidays, how we consume diving. And I will go over to Professor.
Can I say something?
You have to ask the professor if he lets you speak.
Can I say something? No, I want to ask the contribution of غرفة الغوص. And we have them with us today, the head of the Chamber of Diving in Egypt. So I think it's if it's okay with you, if you can contribute a little bit, because I think it's important to listen about the challenges they face. I would like to hear a little bit about the challenges that you face when it comes to ecotourism. I think it's very important. If it's okay with you, everyone, I think it's important. على الchallenges اللي حضرتك بتفيس في غرفة الغوص. It's important إن احنا نتكلم عنها برضو بصراحة.
I'd like to refer my colleague Lina.
Yes,
because
please.
she was
Both.
she handled
Yes.
all this file
Sure.
in detail, so she can address it
Sure.
more. Then I can make
Sure.
a final comment.
Hello.
Hi, Lina.
Hi. honestly, as a comment, as a diver, first of all, I'd like to say that the diving sector is not the main problem when it comes to tourism and the Red Sea. It's not the diving activity that's the issue. They are the main three following things, we can say. One is the lack of regulation of boats and marinas and etc. when it comes to their waste and their sewage. So it's not the diving activity, it's the activity that is on the boat, that is going on top of the coral reefs or in the middle of the dolphins. أهم حاجة إنه في نقطة.
So can we say tourist behavior, operators, stakeholder behaviors?
Boats as an infrastructure, المركب نفسه. This is the biggest issue. The sewage from the boat, the garbage, the waste management on the boat to and back from the marina. It's not the. Then we can talk about the second thing, the absolute need for a management plan for all areas in the Red Sea. Where are we going? What are we doing? Who is there? When can they be there? When they should not be there? When do we fish? When do we not fish? And where? أهم حاجة. And ensure that this management plan is implemented. مش بس على الورقة ويتركن و nothing happens. Then a third thing that is an issue for the tourism sector in general is the informal sector. There needs to be joint control from everyone on this sector. Because without it, we cannot have sustainability or even safety measures. And this is what's giving us a bad reputation. And fourth, fishing is a huge issue in the Red Sea. And I hope that it is not overlooked in this roadmap.
Overfishing, you mean?
Overfishing.
Overfishing.
Just like Dr. Hanafi said, it's the Red Sea is quality, not quantity. We need to take this seriously into account. And the diving sector has huge issues when we are going into parks and into areas that are meant to be protected. And we have ongoing fishings where the divers themselves, the tourists, have to collect fishing nets out of the water.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'd like to add just one more point.
Please.
And I hope you appreciate my honesty. I wish that the Ministry of Environment and the national parks have more power, more resources to enforce the violations that are taking place in the national parks. We see, like Lina said, violations taking place, but they don't have enough boats to monitor and catch or capture the violation immediately. They usually ask for the diving centers or the boats to take pictures and send it to the national park. I know they have some modern boats and some modern facilities, but we wish to see them more patrolling all the diving areas to see the excess number of divers, to see how the divers are behaving at the bottom, misusing or abusing the coral reefs, etc., etc. So I wish.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And you raise an important point, which is also something that is close to our heart, because we see a lot in certain developments, the environmental aspects are quite often put aside for purely economical or other aspects. It's important because we need the environment and we are all part of the environment. And we also all understand, and also at UNEP, we fully understand that people need to live in peace. People need to have access to food, to healthcare, to education, but that's all in a way part of the environment. So we're pushing from our side, and we are all here, Sedare, Sylvie, the EU delegation. The environment part is something extremely important, so thank you for raising this point. We have 5 minutes for everybody, so to respond at anything that you think is important, and after 5 minutes I will give the mic over. Professor.
Yeah, I think from my opinion, just as a final remarks about the uses and values, I think we have the main problem even if we are going to propose projects or something like this, we have to focus on challenges. That's all. You know, I saw many projects doing the same along 40 years, okay? But I think if we address exactly the challenge, like everybody now, the main problem is now is that we have a problem of overuse because we started on quantity rather than quality, and the ended was very, very intensive. From the economy, I'm not economist, I'm a marine ecologist, but with some of my colleagues, like Ayman here, we did something like Samadai Reef. Samadai Reef, this is Dolphin House. It's very good model. It's very successful model in terms of conservation and sustainable use. We ended with this site 600 jobs created just for this site, which is the diameter of this not more than 600 meters. A group of dolphins not more than 40 in average, sometimes 200, sometimes 0 at the same site. And the people going there are just to switch this. We did a site management plan for this. You know, the income from a single dolphin ranges from 70 to $91,000. This is based on travel cost method, you know. And now we created, so each dolphin created 15 jobs. This is the value of the Egyptian biodiversity of the Red Sea. We have to deal with all of this. Regarding the local community, this is a key partner in the conservation process. It's very hard to go to the fisherman and saying, oh, we would like to do regulation for fisheries. At the end, he would like to have food and a stable for his children. It's very hard to communicate with, oh, we would like to stop fishing or something. But livelihood from conservation is very important. We have a model, this like Kalaan village. This is informal settlement, you know, living in the core area of Wadi Gamal National Park. Okay, these people, well, all of them were working on fisheries, just fisheries, and we have a serious problem in fishing. The fish stock reached to the critical point. How we can help these people is just to convert them from consumption use as a source of income to non-consumption use. The only way is to convert them, and we create something community-based tourism, like everywhere. Community should be part of the tourism. And we have, you know, the overuse of the marine resources is very, very high. And we have different resources in the land area. We have just to encourage or to marketing our land resources. We have a unique areas to be attraction tool or touristic product. This is very, very important in the future to reduce the potential of overuse on the marine biodiversity. This is very, very important. Regarding fisheries, like Selina said, yes, we have a serious problem. Just to give you an example, sustainable fishing from 1 square meter of coral reef, the maximum sustainable yield supposed to be between 3 to 5 tons per year. All of the estimation for our coral reef area is ranged between 400 to 700 square kilometer of reef. So we are talking about maximum sustainable yield, not more than how much? 3,500 tons a year. If we are, according to the governmental statistics, we are talking about 49,000 tons a year. 60% of this fish coming from the coral reef. How we can stop this? Very, very recently now, with the Ministry of Environment, they are taking very serious action, even on the level of the high level of the Prime Minister, to stop all of the commercial fishing and to focus on artisanal fishing only. Even the sport fishing, we are going to take very serious action to stop this because this is serious. So, I mean, if we look for all of this with the shark, mega shark, all of the mega shark species, it was one of the touristic projects. You know, long time ago, maybe 2007, we estimated the income from a single mega shark in Brother Island to the national income about $200,000. It was one of per year. It was one of the highest value of sharks over the world. Now, because of the competition between fishing or fishermen and shark on food, the behavior of sharks started to be changed. And we have a serious attack. So all of this were, there are some serious action taken into consideration. And the last point, mooring. We have a serious project now, very, very active project to raise the strength of the mooring installation. We are going to start with 40 installation, especially at Cecil Gold, all of these rigs, and but just to give HIPCA responsible about mooring installation under the umbrella of the Ministry of Environment. We have 1,400 installations, cover all of the diving site world in the Red Sea area. Just to expect how much, if the scenario that we haven't mooring installation, and each boat, each time using anchor can damage from 1 to 2 square meter of coral each time of anchoring. So, and we have maybe 2,000 pleasure boats operating on daily basis. So each boat will damage at least 5 meters. So without this mooring installation, which is the largest mooring installation worldwide in terms of numbers, if we have in this project, for example, and sometimes we estimated the economical value or the value of coral, the square meter is about $30,000. If this multiplied by 8,000 square meter of coral, we can lose every day from our assets. I think it's so. This is very, very important project. Thank you. I'm sorry for that.
Thank you. If I can use the term "The Wealth of Nations," the book by Adam Smith, I think Egypt has to consider, and I think they're rightly considering that, or have been considering that the blue economy is a major part of the wealth of this nation. So I think in terms of the income generated, in terms of the foreign exchange earnings, in terms of the jobs created, in terms of the livelihoods, food security, climate change, you name it. There's a lot of potential for the economic activities within the coastal areas and the sea and so on. But I think it's very important that we need to, again, I'm an economist, so I'm just talking about my 2 cents here. It's very important that we are able to identify the areas for decision makers to be able to target the specific programs or projects. I think it's very important that we do 2 things. Look at the economic cost of environmental degradation in some of these sectors. Secondly, we do some sort of due diligence or economic feasibility to see what is the biggest bang for the pound that we invest. Where is it in terms of everything? And that's why I'm saying this is more of a socioeconomic study to look at the jobs generated, the foreign exchange earnings, and so on. So if we invest, because when you talk about finance, even if we get finance, we need to allocate the resources. Finance is not a blank check. If tomorrow we have a development partner saying, okay, I'm interested in the blue economy, it's not a blank check. So we have to be able to allocate the scarce financial resources that are coming in into the most productive sectors of the blue economy. So we need to be extremely diligent about where do we put the money, and we have a roadmap, which we do, but we need to know how is this going to give us the biggest return, the biggest bang on our investments, so that we don't just, the idea is not like spreading ourselves too thin everywhere and say, okay, this is the blue economy. No, I think we have to be doing targeted investments. We know exactly what we need to do. We have to have KPIs. We need to know how much we're getting at the end of it, because this is very important for Egypt, that blue economy. It's about time that we need to make the biggest ever interest and concern to go ahead, and inshallah we will achieve success. Thank you.
I promise Sina that I will deliver the 3 projects in written. And
Please do.
my thoughts is going really why we didn't invite the fisheries department, and what's the future for aquaculture for all these local communities that has been living on fishing. Not necessarily to be doing this business directly in the Red Sea, but maybe in the Mediterranean, in Suez, Gulf of Suez, or
I know that Sina, in her final intervention, will respond to this. So
We will. Maybe we should. Yes, I agree with you. It's because maybe the focus of the roadmap on the touristic activities, and that's why we took this as a priority. Yes. Yes. Very important. Yes, a very important point to address. It shouldn't happen then. Yes, I agree with you. So,
yeah, go.
continue with your point, or you're done? Okay.
I will deliver everything written.
So one final point to take away from this great panel, is that we should focus on the economic value of natural-based resources, in our case, marine and biodiversity resources. But I think something that Shaimaa said, Dr. Shaimaa mentioned to me in the last consultation that resonated with me very well. It's not only about us, the experts and the decision maker, the ones responsible, only to need to know how important it is, the economic value, the capital and economic value, but also the public. There is a need for the public to be aware that overconsumption is wrong. I think it's very important to continue with raising public awareness campaigns through education, through teaching, through engaging the public. Another point that you've also mentioned is educating the decision makers within the institutions themselves, that there is an economic value in preserving and not consumption. I think this is what's missing. And I think it's important to focus on this if we have anything to take away from this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Sina, and I fully agree. Awareness raising, capacity building, communication is extremely important, because at the end, it's us who have the power. I would like to thank the 4 of you. It was fascinating. An economist who speaks about his 2 cents. I've never had that. They usually speak about other. Professor, your expertise, Eamon, we had discussed already. I would need to see my diving skills that I had years ago. Sina, of course. I hope that this work that we are doing under the coordination of SEDARE, I hope for the ministry it's useful. I hope it is something that is not just another project that they have to come to the meetings or be involved, but it's something really useful. And of course, it's one sector. There are, I don't know, dozens others of sectors that can be linked, that could be concentrated. So it's a first step. We also hope that the EU is pleased with this approach, which is not always the most conventional one, because we could also have done a small project in one diving center or with some fisheries. We decided that we believe to kick off such a process, which we know is the kick-off, because when the roadmap is finalized, that's where everything starts. So UNEP, we will be available to continue however we can. And with everything you said, I have a message for Dr. Hossam from SEDARE. I think it's really useful. Well, you can pass the message. I think they probably need to organize some kind of field trip, so that we go and...
Dr. Mahmoud have been saying this forever.
Next time we should be in a room.
Next meeting will be in the Red Sea.
Yes, please.
That's why Hossam went outside, not to hear this. So thank you very much, and we are not even, we're only 1 minute late. That's very good.